Hi all, and welcome to my presentation. I'm so excited to be there virtually with you at NCTE and hope you're having an amazing conference experience. Period. Thank you to Kristen and Troy for incorporating my students and their work into today's presentation, into their book, etc. I'm very excited to share it with you. So first, what you're seeing is a sample assignment that I would use to introduce rhetorical analysis to my AP Language and Composition students. Basically, this usually proves to be the most difficult set of skills for the students to learn. It takes the longest to work on. And so I usually begin by rhetorically analyzing visual elements. And that's why this is part of a presentation on digital argument. So here's the little lesson that I have done in the past and I did this year to introduce rhetorical analysis to my students. I basically have them, as you can see right here, create a Google Doc and share it with a partner. They then select the profile of someone on social media, either Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. I didn't say Snapchat this time, to analyze. They began taking screenshots. As you can see, they shared them with each other. They used their phones if they needed to, if they couldn't get on social media on our school laptops. And then they incorporated them into a Google Doc, at which point they were asked to analyze the images they were seeing, the hashtags, et cetera, along the lines of soaps, Aristotelian appeals, and use of language. So this is what one student's, a set of students' Google Doc might have looked like. This is another. So they have multiple screenshots. There's kind of their brainstorming and thinking, et cetera, et cetera. So this is 4 different ones that I'm choosing to share with you. Now, I did say that they should not pick anyone from our school, a friend, an enemy, etc., to analyze. I think that just invites trouble, and I've always kept that as a rule. And celebrities were certainly fair game. I also highlighted what I thought was the main question that we were looking to address. How do the various elements of someone's social media profile combine to create a specific public persona? And ultimately, in the SOAPS acronym that we use in AP, that really ends up being the purpose. So what is the purpose of this person's Twitter account or Facebook account or Instagram account? Just as an author creates a purpose for writing any given piece of work that we then study, we're trying to unearth what the purpose is of these more visual media. Okay, so I will show you what the students ended up doing. So here we had one set of students who looked at Chrissy Teigen, married to John Legend, well-known celebrity, somewhat controversial, and they looked at a variety of her posts. You could see a lot of them are of her child, her new baby. She's also known as a cookbook author, an avid cook. She always talks about recipes and about positive body image as well. There's a picture of her and her husband and their child, a picture of her looking glamorous, kind of runway ready. So the students came up with these as elements of her posts that they took apart. They thought that her purpose was to show her love of family, food, and fashion. Her audience would be the general public, maybe specifically women because she talks about diet and taking care of her family, and she's a woman herself. They discuss the various Aristotelian appeals, what the use of emoji might indicate about Ms. Teigen, and then in the last step of this assignment, they basically were able to come up with a claim. So a lot of what we talk about in AP is making claims and then supporting your claims. So theirs was Chrissy Teigen adopts a fun-loving, family-oriented persona on Instagram in order to appeal to her predominantly female audience, which pretty much I thought they did a nice job of analyzing, especially in a brief about 40-minute lesson. They got to some of the main elements that I would have highlighted in this same set of images. Here's another of the infamous Miranda Sings. Many of you might know who she is if you have younger children. So again, here we see her Twitter profile, various pictures of herself that she showed, comedic posts that she's made. You see that her language is informal, there's no capitalization, there's misspellings, etc., and lots of jokes. So the purpose is to entertain. We talk about how it's either inform, persuade, or entertain almost 99% of the time, and clearly Miranda Sings' profile is to entertain. So the audience is usually pretty general, anyone looking to laugh. They went through ways that Miranda Sings' ethos is readily available, the amount of followers she has. Obviously, she's a verified Twitter account. She's not been bounced off for any inappropriate reason. They talk about the use of language that I mentioned. They looked at this sample way to word a claim and then came up with this claim. Miranda Sings demonstrates an outgoing, overconfident, self-absorbed, and illiterate persona through Twitter in order to entertain her comedy-seeking audience. I thought that did a nice job of giving what they were working with. It incorporated language, images, even video, which I just showed not to highlight here, and did a pretty good job. And so there's other similar ones. Here's one on Zendaya, who's a singer and who's also on TV in a show for younger children. And ultimately, this group's claim was Zendaya adopts a confident and proud persona on Instagram in order to influence her young female audience. So they identified her audience correctly. And then finally, we have one of Anna Netrebko. And so the students did the same thing, and I thought they did a nice job of really going through everything I asked them to for every single image. So if you wanted to push your students to do more and really go in depth on each post, this is what it might look like. And ultimately, they were able to come to this claim. Anna Netrebko adopts a professional persona coupled with family values on Twitter in order to promote her performances as well as herself to her specialized audience. Because obviously she has a specific fan base that's maybe heavy on people who like things that are Russian or who are Russian by background, etc. So that's an example of what my students ended up producing. And I would suggest that follow-up activities might indicate they could do presentations to the class where they really go through this in full detail. If you wanted to reinforce the skills over and over, they could write a paragraph or even an essay based on their claim. They could then try and view the same figure across various social media outlets and write some kind of compare contrast synthesis type essay incorporating those multiple sources. And an even further extension is basically to create a social media profile for someone, real, imagined, in a book that you're reading, and basically construct a persona. So they've spent this lesson deconstructing, and actually one exercise could be to construct a persona and consider all the elements that go into a finished product with a very specific purpose, which can then serve as a gateway activity when you're constructing a written argument and looking at other written arguments, knowing what went into it on the back end of things. So that's really what I wanted to share with you today. I have lots of other social media analyses that were shared with me that I'm showing here. And I'm hoping that you were able to take this idea and run with it, change it. It's used in some college composition classes, but I don't know how much it's being used at the high school level. So I would recommend you try it. Students are naturally attuned to this kind of thing. They had zero problem being on their phone, going right to airdropping their images that they captured on their phone to their laptop and busting out their whole assignment, basically, as I said, within a 40-minute span. And I think they did a pretty nice job. Good luck to you with your digital argument adventures, and thanks for listening.